From the moment my husband saw this ranch driving down Cienega Road, he was obsessed. He asked all these questions, and then a little while later, he said, I'm going to buy that ranch. And I'm like, I don't know what you're smoking, but we're not buying that ranch.
Two and a half decades later, Sallie Calhoun is proudly raising sheep, cattle, turkeys, pigs, wine grapes, and more at Paicines Ranch. Paicines Ranch spreads across 7,600 acres, an area 7.5 times the size of Golden Gate Park. It's bisected by one of the Diablo Range's major waterways, the San Benito River.
The thing I love about the river is it's really complex. It's always dynamic. It's always doing stuff you never expected. You never know what's going to happen. And it's such a haven, right? It's a place we all go when it's hot and dry and dusty. Just really fascinating.
Calhoun never planned on becoming a rancher.
Basically, my husband and I are electrical engineers. We met waiting tables at the faculty club in college. We moved to Silicon Valley in the mid-'70s, and we did all kinds of amazing, fun things in Silicon Valley and had a great time.
That era ended in the year 2000, when Sallie and her husband, Matt Cristiano, earned enough from the sale of their Silicon Valley company, Globetrotter Software, to buy Matt's chosen ranch.
We got an offer when the NASDAQ was at its peak in 2000 that was absolutely ridiculous, and we're like, I think this is an intelligence test and we should pass. It was the largest investment we have ever made, and it makes absolutely no sense. 2 engineers, right? It makes absolutely no sense. So anyway, we did it. And then my husband said, you should run it. So I did, and I think it's not turned out exactly as he expected, but... I started out really curious about how it should be managed. I was super interested, and I would go around and ask everyone, what's my reference river? I could not find a reference river anywhere. It's a sandy bottom, really silty river. So it's really been a matter of just talking to everybody I could find and learning as much as I can.
They got a cool reception from neighbors at first.
The thing that really ticked us off when we got here was we were known as .com dummies. We were not ticked at being called dummies because we really didn't know anything. We were ticked at being associated with the .com boom, which we were not part of.
Skeptical neighbors turned out to be the least of their problems.
What idiot buys a ranch where it rains 11 inches a year if you're lucky and at the start of a 21-year mega drought? That would be me.
An acquaintance told Calhoun to read a book by an ecologist from Zimbabwe named Alan Savory. Its title, Holistic Management.
So I went home and I read it twice. And the only thing I really got from it at that moment was the idea that maybe by changing the way we manage domesticated livestock on these California landscapes, we could bring back California's native perennial cool season bunch grasses. And the idea of bringing them back was a little worm that went into my head. And within a few months, I own 500 cows because I'm an engineer, and I'm like, if I lease it, I'll never really understand how it works. So I decided to be a rancher. And one thing led to another, and soon I was doing grass-fed beef. I ran a meatpacking plant in the Central Valley, started investing in farms and ranches, starting doing philanthropy in the space. And it goes on, and the worm has now consumed my entire brain. And this is all I think about, and this is the work that I do.
Calhoun's goal is to produce high-quality food while increasing the ranch's biodiversity. She's also concerned about soil health and sequestering carbon to mitigate climate change. Her workforce includes cattle, turkeys, chickens, pigs, and since 2014, mostly sheep. Compared with cattle, she says, sheep require less water, do better on native forage, and produce more pounds of meat. Sheep in the vineyard manage weeds, improve soil health, and recycle nutrients. The flock is moved around frequently to prevent overgrazing. Historically, land along the river was grazed constantly throughout the growing season, but Calhoun grazes it periodically, allowing time for the plants to recover.
we take a slightly different management approach, right? We're trying to let things grow in the river. We're trying to leave the snags. We're trying to create shade. I have consistently, since I got here, tried to do things that a reasonable rancher could do. Because if it costs $25,000 an acre, well, sure, some restoration will get done. But we can't do that at scale. Whereas if we come up with something that a reasonable rancher can do, then we can change millions of acres of rangeland in California.
There are no beavers on the property now, but she's looking into a state program that would allow her to reintroduce them.
If you were here in August, you would be like, oh, this landscape is going, needs water. So our initial thoughts about beavers was we could rewater, we could raise the water table and get a lot more subsurface water flowing on the benches just above the river. We can actively get beavers back. They would be a real feature on the landscape, I think.
A few springs ago, the raging San Benito River overleapt its banks and cut through an oxbow, reducing the river's length by a mile and drying up 88 acres of forest.
We were all in dismay. We were all talking about, oh, should we plug the hole and try to put the river back? And then we had this wonderful young shepherd who's a wildlife biologist by training, who said, well, interesting things will happen over there. Snags are full of biodiversity. We don't know what's going to live and what's going to die, but it will be different, and that's okay. So basically, we've decided to embrace what the river did.
In 2025, Paicines became one of about 125 ranches nationwide that have earned a bird-friendly land designation from the National Audubon Society for their grazing practices and environmental safeguards. Meadowlarks, shrikes, and tricolored blackbirds thrive here, as well as great horned owls, golden eagles, and even condors. The overall abundance of life delights the ranch's staff and guests.
You don't see mountain lions very often, fortunately. Last fall was the first time we had a mother and 2 cubs who hung out, and of course we had a group of 30 people here for the week, so that was a little nerve-wracking. But we often joke that once you increase biodiversity, you get it all.
Today, neighbors are more tolerant of the former Silicon Valley engineers in their midst.
Some of them are our friends now, and it's fine. I think people now realize that we are not here to build houses, and we're not leaving. And if you come to a place and you're authentic and sincere and want to be part of the community, then people will eventually accept you, I think. I understand a lot of the challenges that face ranchers way better than I did 25 years ago when I referred to myself as a suburban environmentalist. We can talk about the great land theft. That was a catastrophe in the 19th century. But since then, it's ranchers who have stewarded these big pieces of land and are, to some degree, under assault a lot of the time. When I got here, I very quickly decided that I was a person who could be a link between urban people and this landscape. So I love this landscape. I want people who don't live here not to think of this as empty ground. I want them to think of it as this is a place where food comes from and passionate people steward the landscape. So we have welcomed people here for over 20 years.
The ranch hosts tours, events, and weekly luncheons. It's also in the ecotourism business, renting cottages for overnight stays. These activities take time and staff, but Calhoun sees them as vital to her educational mission, sharing her food, love of the land, and new perspectives with the larger world.
My thought is, my job is to get out of the way as much as I can and create the conditions for Mother Nature and life to do what it is the best thing to happen for the planet as a whole. So I have few theories about what should happen. I want to make sure I'm not in the way, though. That's kind of the big goal.